This week, we're going to talk about systems within an organism. So we're kind of changing topics, and this is going to be our transition. So for objectives and vocab, our objectives are to list the 5 characteristics that all animals share, list 6 functions multicellular animals do to survive, and explain which of the systems is used for each of the 6 functions. You have 10 vocab words. These should be in your notebook. You wrote them last week after the test. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about are the levels of organization. Okay, so we're going to start off with big, which we did already. So we started by doing the biosphere. And in the picture, you can see that for biosphere, we're looking at here, which is the whole world. Okay, so after biosphere, we go down to ecosystems. So the biosphere is made up of many ecosystems. And communities, let's remember that these are the living organisms within a biosphere, right? And then we have populations, which is a group of individuals that are all in the same area. Underneath that, we have organism, right? So we usually do this the other way. We're going backwards, okay? So organism is a single organism that lives in a place at one time. When we then look into the organism and go a little deeper, now we're going like further down, and this is what this half the year is about. So an organism is made up of a bunch of organ systems. Organ systems are made up of individual organs. Individual organs are made up of 2 or more types of tissue. Tissue is made up of cells. Cells are the basic unit of structure and function. Okay, they're made up of molecules, and then a molecule is when atoms combine. Okay, and an atom is a single element. Okay, molecules would be when atoms combine, like water. Right. So realistically, if you were looking at the other way, you'd start with atoms. Atoms combine to make molecules. Like molecules are going to be like water, carbohydrates, that kind of stuff. Molecules are going to combine together to make cells. Cells make tissues. Tissues make organs make organ systems. Organ systems make the whole organism, which then when organisms combine, now we get into the ecology half, organisms combine to make populations. Populations combine to make communities, right? That's all the multiple living things. Communities combine to make ecosystems. Remember, ecosystem is living and non-living. And then the ecosystems all combine to make, we had biomes before, but biosphere, which is the whole planet Earth. So with switching systems, like environments, we need to remember that organisms have systems within their body that work together to keep them alive. Body systems interact or work together to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is keeping the body in balance. It's keeping us at like a constant body temperature or keeping the amount of water in our body even. And our systems interact to maintain homeostasis and to maintain life's essential processes. Now, there are a couple processes that we're going to focus on as we go through the different systems and the way that our bodies work and the way that cells work and organisms work. The first process to keep us alive is that organisms, and this is all organisms, not just us, but organisms need to obtain oxygen and nutrients and then move it through their body. Right. The second thing all organisms have to do, so this is anything alive, a cat, a dog, a plant, right? Organisms need to have a way to remove waste to maintain homeostasis, or waste will build up. Organisms are going to need a way to respond to the environment by regulating processes to, again, maintain homeostasis. And lastly, organisms need a way to grow, maintain, repair, and reproduce. So if I skin my knee, I need to have a way to make more skin to cover that up, right? Plants need a way to get bigger. If you break off a branch, they can't just die. They need a way to keep growing. All of these systems all rely on our smallest functional unit, right, which is the cell. So everything big ends up coming down to everything little and affecting it. So first, obtaining oxygen and nutrients, right? Oxygen is necessary for cellular respiration. So we need oxygen to make ATP. We talked about this a little bit before when we talked about the cycles. ATP is the energy that our bodies use. So this is a molecule that our bodies use actually to make energy. The nutrients, right, comes from foods we eat. So the things that we put into our body, right, are nutrients. We need to eat these to stay alive. Nutrients are the building blocks of our body. So what we do is we take them apart and we put them back together, okay? And then we make ourselves out of that. The building blocks that we use, or the nutrients, we take these nutrients in so that we can get specific elements. The elements are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Okay, when you see these elements, you should have the word CHONPS, CHNOPS. Okay, you should write that in your notebook. That is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. Those are the elements we need in our bodies to stay alive. We need to take those from the outside and bring them in. You can't make an element on your own. Okay, so you need to get that from the outside world. The next thing that our bodies do is eliminate waste, right? So this isn't just like pee and poop. That's what people usually think. Waste is actually any kind of byproduct that we don't want in our body that comes from a metabolic process. It comes from something that we do to get with those nutrients that we like just talked about eating to get energy and ATP. Okay, so these processes happen at the cellular level, which gives us the energy to survive, but it also has these waste products or byproducts that we don't want in our body. All animals have some type of system to remove waste. Humans have excretory system, right? So we secrete urine and sweat to get rid of waste. Humans also have a digestive system, right, where we secrete feces or poop. We have a respiratory system where we secrete or excrete carbon dioxide, right? That's a waste product. And we talked about that before when we talked about the global warming stuff, right? If these wastes remain in our body will become toxic, okay? So like what happens, here's this picture that shows us what wastes come from, right? So oxygen goes into our body and carbon dioxide comes out. That's the byproduct, right? Water goes into our body and we're going to have to sweat and breathe to get it out or produce urine to get it out, right? Food goes into our body, right? And the parts that we can't digest come out as feces or poop. And some of it comes out as urine because that's one of our byproducts of breaking down proteins. Our next process is responding to the environment and maintain homeostasis. That's not the right one. One more. Okay. All animals react to the outside and inside environment. So all animals are going to react to like outside of our bodies and stuff that's going on within our bodies, right? The nervous system is our system that's going to be used to gather information and cause reactions to occur internally and externally, right? It makes my hands move, but it also increases my heart rate if I get nervous or makes me breathe faster. Homeostasis, and this is important, and we're going to like focus on this a lot in this unit. Homeostasis is the process of maintaining an internal body condition. So it's like what we do to keep ourselves in balance. We have to stay in balance. If our body goes out of balance, it's how we get sick. That's how things happen that aren't great, right? So we want to keep our body in balance so all of the chemicals can work appropriately. We use things called feedback mechanisms and other cellular processes to keep our body in balance. We'll talk about that more when we get to the homeostasis week. But this is how we do things like regulate body temperature, right? And keep ourselves from getting too cold. Our negative feedback mechanisms are mechanisms that bring us back to homeostasis. So rather than getting further and further away from homeostasis, it makes us turn around and go back, like shivering, right? Your muscle contractions produce heat, which gets your body warm again. Positive feedbacks are going to cause some kind of extreme reaction until whatever the stimulus is goes away. And then cellular processes that help us respond to our environment are things like passive and active transport. They actually allow things to come in and out of the cell to keep us at balance. Our next function or process is to growth, maintenance, repair, and reproduction. These are all things that bodies do, that cells do, that animals do, that organisms do to stay alive. So first, all organisms must reproduce to pass on their genes, right? Without passing on your genes, kind of in the greater scheme of things, there's no point in it being here. That's what organisms are trying to do. Most organisms are going to reproduce sexually, meaning it's going to be two parents and one kid, so that helps to maintain genetic diversity. Remember we talked about the different types of diversity? Genetic diversity was one of them. Two parents with one kid helps maintain genetic diversity because you get DNA from each of the parents. So it makes a different set of DNA, right? Some organisms reproduce asexually, and this does not add to genetic diversity. Asexual reproduction actually is just kind of cloning the parent. So it's one parent, and either like the one parent divides in half and becomes two, or it's one parent, and like plants, they grow kind of a second baby plant off of them. Spider plants do this, cactuses do it. They kind of grow like a bud of a plant off the side of them, right? Those are clones to the original parent. And then once multicellular organisms reproduce, they then use mitosis or cell division to grow. Okay, so all of this repair, this growth, reproduction, this is all using either meiosis, which is cell division to make sex cells, or mitosis, which is cell division to make body cells or a new organism, right? And that's all in our genes and our DNA, and we're going to have to go back to DNA and start there to figure that out. Lastly, we're going to quickly go over the systems used to maintain life. So the first system that we talk about is our digestive system, right? Digestive system is used to obtain nutrients. This is how we eat food. It's used to remove waste, and this is how we remove our solid waste that we can't, undigestible material. And it's used to transport nutrients. So it brings nutrients through our bodies and breaks it down so that we can then bring it into our body. Circulatory system picks up the nutrients from the digestive system and transports it through the body. So it's going to transport substances throughout the body. Nutrient uptake is one of the functions of it, like we just said, picks up from the digestive system, but also removal of waste. It gets the waste products from the cells and cycles them back to either the lungs or the digestive system or the kidneys to remove it from the body. Next, respiratory system. Respiratory system helps us obtain oxygen and remove CO2. Right? Excretory system removes other waste. This would be like our kidneys, urinary system. Sweat glands are part of the excretory system, so we remove waste. Usually this is waste from protein digestion. So things that have nitrogen in them. And then nervous system is going to help regulate processes. It helps us maintain homeostasis, which all of these systems actually do, but nervous system kind of gets the credit for it because it helps us move, right? It helps our bodies react. It helps our bodies maintain and repair themselves, right? Because it tells us when we're injured. And then our reproductive system helps us make new creatures, right? Make new organisms, make new people for cells, not even cells, but for, I guess, plants. They have a reproductive system, they eat a bud or they don't, I don't know. But it's going to make more of whatever organism we're talking about. So that's those notes. Make sure you got them copied in your notebook. There's drawings in there. You can use those, and I will see you in class.